2 years ago, I was in a car accident that almost cost me my right leg. In January of 2021, I was in a car crash that resulted in a tib-fib break, and I shattered the joint in between my ankle. I went in for emergency surgery that night, where I was then given my first external fixator. I was released from the hospital 24 hours later, and I moved home about 2.5 hours to my family's house because I was unable to take care of myself. When I was home, within that night, I was in excruciating pain. And when I say excruciating pain, I literally couldn't get comfortable. I even tried sleeping in my dog's bed. That's how bad it was. I finally, after some time, had convinced my parents to take me to the emergency room. They had been hesitant because I had just gotten out of surgery and you're expected to be in pain. When we got to the emergency room, we waited way too long because by the time they finally got me back in the room and did cultures on my leg, we discovered that I had compartment syndrome. I know it's a very rare form of syndrome. This was really scary for me because I, A, didn't even know what compartment syndrome was. B, I was so out of it because I had been in surgery 24 hours before. And C, I was in so much pain I wasn't even thinking clearly.
Sarah was in a car accident that almost took her leg.
Before I knew it, I was on the operating table going in for emergency surgery because compartment syndrome can cause you to lose your leg. And this is a very, very serious syndrome. When I got out of that surgery, I stayed in the hospital for about a week, I believe. And then I had 3 INDs conducted to remove all of the bacteria and release the compartments. Compartment syndrome ended up killing my tibial nerve and a portion of my muscle in my foot. The portion of muscle was removed and the tibial nerve just suffered really bad damage. After that occurred, I went in for another surgery. I think this was around my 5th or 6th surgery at this point, where I was put under, and I had a plate, a rod, and 6 screws installed into my leg. Well, little did we know that these were not fully sterile, and I then received a bacterial infection. This was so painful, but also so traumatizing. I then got put a PICC line in my arm and was sent home to administrate IV antibiotics every day for 3 months. This was something I never predicted. Fast forward about a year, I noticed that my foot has not been working and something was wrong. I went to my surgeon and I asked him, my foot's locking, it doesn't feel like I can move it upward, what can I do? Keep in mind, I had been in PT consistently 2 to 3 times a week and was doing everything I could to rehabilitate my ankle, but it was just getting worse. When I went into this appointment and I asked my doctor if this was normal and all this, he assured me that it was normal and it was part of the process and that I didn't need to worry about it. But he was very, very wrong.
Doctors kept turning her away and not providing the answers she wanted.
A couple months went by and I started consulting other surgeons because now I was walking tiptoed and all of my toes were curled underneath my foot. I was tripping, I was living in terrible amounts of pain, and I simply was so miserable that I had become extremely, extremely depressed. When I started seeing new surgeons all over Michigan, which is where I was for these original surgeries, all of them kept repeating the same thing. We can fuse the joint or we can amputate. We can fuse the joint or we can amputate. The issue with an ankle fusion is I was 21, 22 at the time, and an ankle fusion does run out over time, which would then lead to amputation for me. They didn't offer me an ankle replacement because of my age and being too young. Finally, I met with one surgeon, and I vividly will always remember this day. He came into the office and he sat down and he looked at me and he said, "Your case is really bad." And to which I said, "I know." But he said, "Your case is really bad. I can't help you, but I remember reading about this study when I was in med school." The study that he read was called ankle distraction arthroplasty, and he had told me that there are very limited surgeons in the United States that perform it, but he remembered one of them being in Oregon. I was born in Oregon, so this was awesome for me because we had connections. We instantly got in to that surgeon, and I flew out to Oregon to meet him. I thought I was set after this appointment. The surgeon was fantastic, and I still think so highly of him. But we found out there was another surgeon in New York City that also performed the same surgery. And theoretically, looking at this surgery, I was going to have to relocate for 6 weeks. So I wanted to be as close to Michigan as I could so my parents could take turns flying in and out to take care of me. When I went to New York City, it was Christmas time, and I remember walking into that surgeon's office, and I actually passed out in the x-ray room because I was so anxious and stressed. This was something that was my last hope, and I was so fearful of what my future was going to bring, or if they were even going to accept my case.
She felt that this surgery was her last chance to save her leg.
Luckily enough, my surgeon sat me down and said, "Because you're young and healthy, I will take your case, but I want you to know that you're going to need to mentally and physically prepare for this." And I thought that I mentally prepared. Moving forward, I graduated college in May of 2022, and about 2 weeks later, I picked up and moved to New York City to have ankle distraction arthroplasty, and where I lived for 6 weeks while recovering. This surgery is really unique because what it does is it preserves the joint. Before this surgery, my ankle was deteriorating at a rapid rate, and it was becoming extremely dangerous to the point where there was going to be no bone left. So this surgery created space between my joint, which allows for more mobility. Even though I still have a limited range of mobility, it gave me more than I did before the surgery. We spent nearly 5 hours digging out my nerve from scar tissue. My surgery was supposed to last 3 hours and it lasted 8.5. Today I'm still in recovery. I am about 6 months post-op frame removal from ankle distraction arthroplasty, but my original surgery was in May of 2022. Looking forward, I don't know what the future will bring, and it's a lot of unknowns for me, but I do know that the surgery is working. Although I have been having an increase of pain, that's just part of the process. So we're trying to be patient with it as we guide through this recovery together. And I can't say enough great things about the surgery. It quite literally saved my leg and my life.
Despite everything she has been through, we are so happy to see Sarah recovering and looking so bright and hopeful. In the comment section, people were so proud of her for staying strong, with one person saying, "This is a wild story. So glad you kept advocating for yourself, praying for you," while others shared their similar stories. "My friend got compartment syndrome while she was in hospital in Vancouver. Most of the nurses had never seen it before. Good luck to you." As always, thank you so much for watching Happiest. If you like this video, then be sure to check out our Instagram and our TikTok pages for more videos like this one. And if you've got any of your own videos you'd like us to share, be sure to send those in.